I just get started. Somebody knocks. Hang on a second. You want 2 batteries? Yeah. Hang on. Have to get batteries for my daughter. Yep. I haven't even tweeted out you guys are on. There we go. Get that sent out. How's it going tonight? How you guys doing? Notification, yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, cool. All right. I was muted. I actually got my microphone working. Yeah. Before I was using the microphone on my my camera, and it was trash. And I finally got the microphone working. So hopefully it sounds okay. By the way, as always, let me know if the music sounds too loud, and I will happily turn it down. But yes, Arch drivers for the win. Not really. Yeah. The drivers for Arch are actually okay. Because I actually run NVIDIA as well, so I have a 1080 Ti. It's not the best car in the world, not the worst, but works for what I need. And quite honestly, the drivers weren't too hard to install, so it worked out pretty good. But we are going to pick it up with some Python code. Well, I'll describe where we last left off. But as always, if you have questions about terminal, tmux, vim, how I'm using stuff, just throw the questions in chat. I'll most definitely respond. So also if you have questions about Python, I'll definitely Google those on your behalf. I can probably much more readily answer questions about terminal than I can Python, because Python is something that I just, I know enough to be dangerous at, and that's pretty much it. So I actually come from a C# background. I did a lot of coding in C#. At my previous job, I was something of an enterprise security developer for several years. I coded a lot of security-based tools, and so C# was my background. And so coming into Python, you're going to see a lot of C#-ish type stuff where it's like, I don't know a whole lot about like Python lists and things like that. So that's something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. The closest I get to it in C# is things like link, maybe. The actual. Other way around, did Python sysadmin pentex stuff, now moved to red, now I live in C#. I totally hear you. And it can be a little weird going from a language like Python where everything is broken out, and in terms of the indents and the white space and stuff like that, into like a curly brace type thing. But it's one of those things where you just pick it up and you move on. And I'm a huge fan. I'm not a purist when it comes to programming, not at all. Like I'm a huge fan of using the tool that works for you. And if that tool is Python, great. If you're living in the Linux world, and you're doing most of your hacking from like Linux boxes and stuff like that, then fantastic. But if you're in the Windows world, then PowerShell, C# all the way, and even C# for attack tools, of course. So code Python 24/7, good for you. M Velasco, is that who I think it is? I sure hope so, buddy. I was just thinking about you this morning, and I don't know. So not attacking Principler this evening. I can talk about it. I'm actually in an environment where I'm probably going to test it out tomorrow. Otherwise, I can say that Print Spooler is, it's just, how should I put this? It's the gift that keeps on giving all year, all the time. Print Spooler is the best spooler, and that's really all I can say. But actually, you guys should pay attention to Melvin's stream, Flambic. It would not surprise me. I think he normally streams it's sometime in the weekend. I think it's Saturdays or Sundays. I think it's Sunday. But you guys should pay attention to that. It would not surprise me one bit if he coded up some Print Spooler stuff, because he actually dropped one of his working proof of concepts in work chat today. So I'm not going to steal his thunder, but it would not surprise me if he's doing that. But yeah, so Mauricio, I was just thinking about you this morning. When we were in Peru 2 years ago for B-Sides, I was thinking about, oh man, this story, because you were off doing something like giving your talk or something like that, and I needed, and I don't even know if I told you the story, I needed like a little slice of home, like just some comfort. And so I went to the Starbucks, and right there, where we're having B-sides, Dave's always watching, always watching. So anyways, I'm at the Starbucks, and I'm like, I need a little bit of comfort. I'm in a realm where only one person spoke English, and that was Mauricio, and I just kind of clung to him. He was like my guy, right? Just helping me through this. And we're in this just beautiful country, and so I go to Starbucks. I'm like, all right, I know how to do Starbucks, right? So I know the process. I know how this works. I know what kind of drink I'm going to get. Starbucks is just kind of home. I was around nobody who spoke English. I was the only one, and I know like 2 words in Spanish. Baño and cervezas. I mean, that's literally all I got. Okay, so I go into Starbucks, and I stroll up to the counter, right? And I say hello, and she greets me in Spanish, and I say, ¿Hablas inglés? Do you speak English? And she just went. I'm like, okay, all right, I got this. All right, I pen test networks for a living. I know what to do here. Okay, so I was like caramel macchiato, medium. Okay, and she nodded. She got it. All right, so she locked in. And then she rattled off a litany of words in Spanish, and I had no idea what she was saying. Okay, no clue. So here's what I do. I think to myself, all right, back home when you're ordering a drink in Starbucks, okay, there is a flow to the order process. And so I was thinking that what's the next thing that they normally ask you for at Starbucks after you give your order? Well, the next thing that they normally ask you for is your name, right? So again, write your name on the cup. And so she rattles off all this stuff in Spanish. And I was so proud of myself. I said, Me llamo is Jason. And she looked at me and she said, Visa? And I was like, yep, here you go. And I handed her my Visa card. She didn't care at all about my name. I think she wrote like Bob on the side, like Americano. It was, oh my gosh. I felt like a total idiot. Good times. So anyways, drink for the evening is Michter's Sour Mash. Delicious. I only got about an ounce in here because you have to code to the point where you still know how to write an if statement. Yeah. So all right, where we left off a couple weeks ago is we are writing. For those of you who are just tuning in, we are writing just a simple brute force utility. Yeah, exactly. Need my fingers to work. We're writing a simple brute force utility that's going to brute force NTLM. Why are we doing this? Dogfish Head. Dogfish Head. Is that the beer? Is that what you're talking about? Oh man, I think there's a beer like in the area where I live. There's like a gazillion craft beers. Maybe I don't know what you're talking about, but I swear there's a beer called Dogfish Head. Anyways, KJO, how's it going? Okay, good. That is what you're talking about. All right. So if you are just tuning in, we started coding up a Python brute forcer a couple weeks ago. Just made some simple progress. What you are looking at is an Arch VM that we spent previous few weeks building out in Ansible. Everything is built out in Ansible, and all the coding gets done in Vim because Vim is the best. So if you have questions, throw your questions out there, and we're going to keep going. But right now, where we left off, actually, yeah. Let me quit out of this. I think I still have a tmux session going. Yep, TMs. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, so we have our Autobrute script, and we have down here. This should still work. Okay, cool. All right. So we're going against just a simple VM that I stood up for this exercise that's running NTLM. Dogfish Head is beer, but Michter's, yes. Michter's is I heard someone call it Mitchers. Am I saying Michter's wrong? It's not Mitchers, is it? I have a feeling this person just didn't know what they were talking about. But I felt attacked on my bourbon knowledge. I was like, no. I'm pretty sure it's Michter's. But maybe I'm saying this wrong. Dave, you'll have to... Okay, all right, good. All right. Yeah, she said Mitchers, and I'm like, that's wrong. Anyways, So simple Python brute forcer. And why are we doing this? Well, we're doing it, number one, because it's fun. But number two, because I am generally dissatisfied with most of the brute forcing tools out there. Okay. So how does the majority of brute forcing tools work? Well, you give it a password, you give it a list of users, and you give it a target, and you hit fire, and it goes and does its thing. Well, that's great, and that definitely Mictor is cool. That definitely does what I want it to do, but I also want other things to happen. So, for example, I want to give it a list of usernames and a list of passwords, and I want it to understand where it left off. So, for example, let's say I have to kill the script for whatever reason. Client says, don't want it to run overnight. Fine, no big deal. All right, I can stop the script, and I want to be able to pick it up the next day, and it picks up with the password that it left off with, right? So I want it to understand or have some semblance of state or something like that. And I also want to be able to control with finer points the timing. So, for example, last week, and I told the story, I got caught on show me that. What do you want to see? You have to be more specific. I got caught. Oh, geez. In 128. Oh, man. How do I do what? How do you hack? How do you hack stuff? You start by going to YouTube. You just look it up. How do you hack? Pause the script. Oh, how do you pause the script? Oh, no. I wasn't pausing it. Like just killing it. So it's like, Control C. But like I said, I want to pick it back up where it left off because that's important, right? So yeah. So if for whatever reason the script dies, I want to be able to restart it and and it picks back up where it left off. So yeah, I'm not doing any kind of funky stuff in Python. We're actually pausing execution. But the other thing that I wanted, and this is actually something where I got caught. I actually got caught on an external test sending a brute force to, it actually was Azure. I was sending brute force to Office 365 and they were using Sentinel and they saw the attacks come in and here's what tipped them off. And this is what was interesting is that what tipped them off was the fact that they saw the same list of users in the same order every hour on the hour. Okay, I shouldn't say it wasn't like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It was like exactly 60 minutes apart is when the script fired, and that's how they pieced it together. And so what I want is fine-tuned control over like some sort of randomized interval. Let's say that I want the script to run. Let's say I want it to wait a minimum amount of time and then wait a maximum amount of time. So let's say it waits a minimum of 2 hours. And then a maximum of, say, 5 hours. Then just chooses some random interval in between there, right? And then it fires. So I want a little bit of entropy introduced into it, but I don't want to babysit it, right? Because I got other things to do during a test. So I want to find the brute forceable surface, and like I mentioned, things like tools like NTLM Recon last week. Fantastic tool for finding things like link servers or Skype servers or Exchange or stuff like that. I want to find a brute forceable surface, and then I want to configure the script, fire it, and then walk away and go do other stuff on the perimeter. Like that, that's something I want to do. And I also want to do that on internal tests as well, because internal testing, if you start brute forcing internally, people are going to see exactly where you are on the network, what host you're coming from, or things like that. So if I'm on an internal, I'll still brute externally, because that's just, what are they going to do? Block my IP? I mean, that's okay. So... All right, so where we left off is we just have, a simple script right now. You give it a list of users, you give it a list of passwords. What I have here is temp users cat temp pass. Okay, so I got one password in there, and then invalid creds. Oh, okay, yeah, because I have 2 users. Okay, so and then I'm passing in a domain, which is just lab.com. And then my actual test URL. So that's where we left off. So this week, let's make this code just a little bit, I don't know, let's say a little bit. Why don't we add completed passwords? Let's add that to the list. So let's actually add that state that I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So let's look completed. All right. Do we have an output directory? Did I give an output directory? I did not give an output directory. Let's do that. The output directory, and then this is going to be output directory path where brute force temps are stored. Okay. So we have our output directory, and then as file, let's create after. So we have all of our checking and things like that. If error found, we print and then we exit. Okay, so let's do main block. And I want to add a section for error parsing, so I can keep track of stuff. Okay. So we're opening our user file, we're opening our password file, reading those and storing them into variables, and then we have our simple nested for loop where we're looking at each user, and then for each user we are testing our password and just doing a send request. Okay, so let's add a few more passwords. Let's echo password 2 temp pass, and then let's do password 3. So we got 3 passwords in there. One of them is valid. Okay. So I have 1 valid attempt, 2 invalid attempts, and then let's get rid of low priv 2. Okay. All right. So we got rid of low priv 2, and now we have 1 valid attempt, 2 invalid attempts. Okay. That's about what I wanted. And then let's before our main block, let's set a completed path. Path completed. Completed passwords. Okay. And before we do that, we should add some error checking and make sure that error or that output directory exists. If it doesn't exist, we should create it. If options output. Is it outdir or output dir? Let's add a mark, go back up, and that is output dir back to my mark. If options output dir is none, we want this. So copy those, paste those in, and then Dave's watching. He's gonna be like, "This is why we use Nano." Good style similar to mine. Like your style, neglecting the f-string formatter. You know, the f-string formatter, I'm probably not sure what that is. But generally for string formats, did I have, yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's generally what, it's the new format. This is generally how I format stuff. And again, this is like straight up C# carryover for me. I mean, I know I can put integers in there for like 0, 1, and 2 and stuff like that, but this is how you do it, you know, in C#, and that's just how I like it. I appreciate it. I really do. Believe me when I tell you, the people that I watch code in Python, I have a whole lot of respect for. If you want to see some truly fun and enjoyable Python code, you should look at the Git commits for Dave's Unicorn tool. It's just a good time. Pour yourself a drink and just go scrolling through that code. It really is fun. All right. If options operator is none, we have that. Okay, so otherwise, let's check, see if that exists. If OS path, no. I saw this last week. Yeah, there we go. P equals path. So if P exists equals false. Okay. So let's 9 paste. Okay, pass. I'll return. Okay. Now we got to check to see if that directory exists. Yeah, CMD. So, you know, honestly, and here's the thing. Like I said, when I kicked off the stream tonight, when it comes to coding and stuff like that, I'm a big fan of using what works. Oh man, KJO bringing receipts. I may have allegedly said that I write error-free code at like my very first stream, and of course I was joking, but somebody is getting like t-shirts made up or something like that. Yeah, Vim, honestly, Vim is one of the single biggest enhancements to my productivity that I've ever made. And I don't say that because I'm like, you know, Vim is better than Nano, is better than Emacs, is better than, you know, Pico. And honestly, I don't care. You know, half the crew at TS uses Nano, half the crew uses Vim. Quite honestly, I give Dave a hard time because it's fun to give Dave a hard time, and I give Nano users a hard time just because it's fun and I like the memes. But quite honestly, I couldn't care less. I use Vim because Vim is like a language, and once you learn how to speak the language of Vim, then this sounds so corny, but you like converse in a way. You know what I mean? Like you say something, the computer responds, and so I'm typing Vim code, you know, and you just find a path. You find a very nice flow to it, and it's just extremely enjoyable to me. So, anyways, if you use Nano, that's great. Seriously, good for you. In fact, you probably can do all. Raybar, how's it going, man? Just how you were editing the file in place, setting markers. Yeah. So, and here's the thing. Like, I'm only scratching the surface, and Vim is a very, very deep well. Very deep well. You can go crazy deep on it and never truly hit the bottom. So honestly, if you ever just want, you know, help on something, help markers, help, is it marker? There you go. So you just type help and then guess at the word, and then bam, you're there. And then, you know, close out the buffer. Now, the thing that I talked about before on a previous stream, if watching me code in Vim has not convinced you to use Vim, what should convince you is FZF. FZF should convince you to use Vim, because I can go back and forth in all the files that I want, messages. I can go back and forth using FZF. I don't need tabs open. I don't need any of that stuff. You just need all these files in the buffer, and you can execute things across all your open buffers. And you know, Vim is just a really, really solid tool for that. And I also used the code C#. I actually used the code C# tonight. I loaded up Visual Studio. It was a train wreck. It brought my system to a screeching halt. I'm like, all I need is this stupid little proof of concept, you know, thing that just pings an IP address. I had the code at the ready. Visual Studio just choked on my VM. So what did I do? I opened up Vim. I pasted it in. This is on my Linux machine. I used MCS to compile it, and away you go. So it really is that straightforward. So actually, can we do this? Yeah, we'll do this. We'll take a really brief detour to get in some C#. SSH. Kali. Yeah, maybe. Here we go. Vim ping. Is it pinger? Ping. Is it ping.cs? Where did I save that code? Where did I save that code? Where was Visual Studio? Ping. Yeah, there it is. Oh, all right. Now, I've had this happen before. Swap issues. Not overly worried about it now. Okay. But in this case, all I needed was just a simple chunk of code that just pinged an IP address. Not a big deal, right? So I paste the code in. Seriously, not a problem. And then, yeah, let's do this. And then used MCS, root Visual Studio ping CS, and then out, and then it compiles it on the fly. It's done. And it was just that simple for me. So, yeah. Is MCS.NET Core? That's a really good question. I don't know, to be perfectly honest. It is part of the Mono package. And so if you want to get it on Kali, you install Mono, and MCS comes with it. But I don't know if that is .NET Core under the covers or not. That's a really good question. Wait, hold on. Since I got you all in a captive audience, is MCS.NET Core? I really have no idea. Now I'm curious. Yeah, man. What the heck? Nope. Do I have I don't have a proxy set, do I? Yep. Okay. Mono. So it wouldn't be MCS. It is Mono.NET Core. I have no idea. .NET Core versus Mono. What are we doing? We don't know what to do, children? We go to Stack Overflow. .NET Core. Mono. It says Mono's older than what? When was this? When was this written? When was this question asked? Asked 5 years ago. Okay, that's the downside with Mono MCS. Anyone find it yet? You lost video. Lost video. Shoot. Am I back? Dang. Sorry about that. It doesn't matter how hard I try with scenes in Twitch. I'm just a trashy Twitcher. It's 100% true. All I'm doing is Googling this. I'm actually out on Mono's website. Hang on, I can Firefox. Hold on. Okay. Can you see the browser now? You should be able to. All right, cool. So it looks like it has... Okay, so that's support for languages and like C# versions, but I'm assuming that this is probably what we're interested in, is the version of MS Core Lib. These are just various, like, you know, things in C# that it supports, like syntax stuff. I don't think so based on this, but I could be way wrong here. If somebody figures that out, that would be really interesting. But yeah, based on what I'm seeing, I don't think so. Wonder if you could Wine. I have no idea. I haven't used Wine in ages. The last time I tried Wine was like Crossover Office back in 2005. It was embarrassing. All right. Back to code. Okay. Couldn't get Botto to work. Yeah. On Mono, I have not tried that. I normally just use Botto as part of Python. Okay, so we have our completed file. Oh, we were adding, what we're doing, we were creating that directory if it doesn't exist. OS, I think it's OS, Python OS makedir. I always get this wrong. Python OS make. I think it's makedir. Yeah. Makedir. Or do we want makedir? I think makedir will create all the parent directories as well. Value path. I know you're still watching my my other screen, but yeah, use of OS make dirs to create directories. Let's try that. OS make dirs, and then options output dir. Okay. All right, so we got our code there to actually create it. That does our error checking, and then we're back in our main block. Okay, and we'll test that out when we hit our next debug run. So we're adding completed. We're adding session stuff. Path completed options, completed passwords. Okay, and then let's call this session completed equals open if it exists. Actually, we need to check. We need to check to see if that exists. If OS path exists, path completed, then we're going to session completed. Hang on a second, I will move this up. There we go. By the way, super handy trick in Vim. If you're ever like at the bottom like I was and you want to make that right in the middle of your screen, just hit ZZ. Takes you right there. Puts it right in the middle of the screen. Super handy. Okay. Session completed equals open path completed. And we're going to open that with read write, or read privileges, and then read lines. We're going to read all those lines. Okay, so the assumption that we're making here is that, and this is where I'm just thinking through the logic, we're going to create this file with whatever passwords we try. And then the next time we run this, we're going to open this up. If this exists, then we're going to assume that we have already tried at least one password. Okay, and then we're going to read all those passwords in that we've already completed. And so obviously we're going to write out passwords per attempt to this file once we're done. Okay, so but we need a difference, and the difference is a session completed versus a list of all the completed passwords, because we essentially have to do a comparison, right? So I think what we're going to do is we're going to open, and then if it exists, let me just think this through real quick. Let's complete a password, open with write, read, and then we're going to read all those lines. Let's do completed passwords equals open same path, because we want to read and write out to the same file, but we want to append to that. Okay, but that's only if it exists. If it doesn't exist, if path doesn't exist, then this is going to be our first run. So we're going to create it. Path completed with write access. Okay. All right. Do you need the plus? I think so. Let me find out. Let me find out. I know you're looking at my terminal, so just looking at Python append to file. You may not need the plus. Let's try it without the plus. Where did I get the plus from? Probably Stack Overflow. Let's find that plus, find the plus, and delete it. That I don't know, unless it auto adds a new line. That's interesting. I don't think it does, because this essentially refers to the access type with which you open the file, right? So I don't know if that's going to add a new line for us automatically. But yeah, we'll give it a shot. Okay, so this is something I think we're going to have to, before we bite off too much complexity here, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. All right, let's just do this where we add completed passwords. at the end of a request, let's add completed passwords. Let's write the password plus a new line, and then flush that out. Okay. What are some pen testing tools, creative name picker, bravo on the name, that I could write to put in my resume for landing an internship? Writing tool that monitors changes in HTML/JS files, but I don't know if that would impress. You know, honestly, it's a great question. Let me put it this way. If I was looking at your resume, I would be much more interested that you contributed rather than necessarily what you contributed, if that makes sense. So if you're just trying to jump in pen testing, right? Let's say you want to hit like a junior role or just a regular pen testing role. The fact that you are contributing to the community says something about you, and it says a few things. Number one, there's a sense of courage there. Okay, so you're putting something out there for people to review. It says that you're willing to contribute back to the community, generally speaking, for free. So you're willing to do this on your own personal time, which tells me you have interest and drive. So those kinds of things. Me personally, I'm not so much interested in what you write. That doesn't mean you can't dazzle on it. So Int 128's got a good idea there, a log parser with alerting. So for example, a great log to just look over is in the case of like on a redirector or something like that. Let's say you want to alert for a specific IP that comes in. Tools like Red Elk will do that, but Red Elk, there's a lot that goes into it in order to standing it up. You could just monitor a file, look for a specific IP, and then send an email or a pushover alert. Is that something that's like just truly useful that everyone is going to clone and fork and use? Probably not. But you're going to learn some things, and you're going to show us that you're willing to learn some things, and you're willing to put the time and effort in doing that. So it's not really so much about what you code as much as it is about the fact that you're putting forth the effort, willing to learn. I'm much, much more interested in how you respond to feedback about that code. You get all huffy about it. What if I say, hey, you could do this better, you could do that better. If you kind of throw a fit about it, or if the ego flares up, well, that tells me something. So as the old adage goes, higher personality, train skill. When it comes to getting into a shop, people, especially firms like Trusted Sec, are way more interested about cultural fit than they are about just a rocking skill set. Because jerks can be totally amazing at what they do. That doesn't mean they're a good fit at a company. So honestly, show us what you got, put it out there, be willing to accept good feedback, and hopefully that helps. CMD Cisco, thank you, appreciate it. All right. So we write that out. Let's save that. Let's fire this. And we should get an error. Okay, good. So our validation worked. You're welcome. If nothing else, I can certainly pontificate. So it's call it probably more of a curse than a blessing. Okay, so let's just send our output to temp. We'll just call this brute attempts. Attempt spelled it wrong. OS is not defined. Well, why isn't OS defined? Because I didn't define it. Let's go to the top. Import OS. Save that. Run it again. Okay. Outdir. Outdir is wrong because it's actually outputdir. So let's find outdir and replace that with put. Save that. Okay. Thinking those open statements will keep handles open. You're right. They will. User pass file. Okay, so we read that. That is going to keep open handles. So I'm thinking probably best. Oh, what do I have here? Did I copy a truckload of code? Yep, I did. That's fun. Does it close after read all lines? And if you guys noticed, it for user in, I'm running the same block of code twice. I must have pasted a ton of stuff in. Well, that's just okay. I have 2 sections of main block. Okay, let's do this. And I copied the error found. Okay. So the question is, what was I actually editing? User file path completed. If OS path exists. Let's do this. This is stupid. And then let's get rid of that block. And let's trash that. Lord. That's how you Sometimes I get ahead of myself in Vim. It's true. I get so excited to use YY and P. YYP. I just get so excited. 123 Jandro, what's going on, buddy? Alright, so our user file, our pass file, our completed. If our path completed exists, we're just going to open this. We're not going to do anything with this just yet. This is more of just a test. And then I think what I'm going to do is let's manufacture an interruption. We'll send the first one. Is it just sleep? Is it just sleep in Python? Dr. Payload, how you doing? It's time sleep, so I probably have to import time, don't I? Yeah, import time, so it's time sleep. We're gonna sleep for 3 seconds. Oops. And then we're going to import time. All right. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to manufacture an interruption in the script. And we don't need our test URL in there anymore. Okay. So we'll do our time sleep and then kill it once we hit that sleep. Because I want to see if things are writing out properly. Outdir, I still have output dir. Okay, so we killed it. So we should have. We killed it after our first attempt, which means that we should have hit this line right here, flushed it out right before the time sleep. So ls temp root, yep, okay, and our completed passwords. Root, spelled the temps wrong. Okay, cool. So we got our first one written. Is this the new mic? This is the old mic, but it is the I got it working. I had somebody's giving me crap about Arch drivers. I had an issue in Arch where I had the mic muted, and I had to go get some obscure GUI tool in order to figure out how to unmute it, like at the system level. So it was configured fine in OBS, but and I have red mode on. Let's see if I can turn red mode off on the camera. There we go. Wow, that's magic. What does flush do? Flush writes out the value instead of holding it in memory. Because if you hit write, then you're going to write it out to the file, but it's not going to save those until the very end. Okay. So we did our completed password test. What happens if we run it again? Okay. So now, you see what happened there. I reran it, and it grabbed password 1 and stuck it back in the file again, and we don't want that. So this is where we need to check completed passwords to see if a password has already been tried, and then skip that if it's already been tried. And this is where we get to do fun stuff like a diff. Actually, I Googled this for quite a long time. to figure out how to do this. So don't judge my code too hard here. Okay. Completed passwords, open master list. All right, so bear with me, I'm refreshing my memory here. We have to import difflib. Forgot to add a mark. That's probably how I got myself into the duplicate code. Yeah, so this is where just pop each tried one, listen and compare. Okay, so that is probably much more of a Pythonic way of going about it, truly. And I'm not being facetious. Python and lists, like lists don't jive with me just yet. That's like part of my learning curve on Python. I look at the syntax and the syntax seems backwards to me, and that makes it hard for me to wrap my head around. So I found a different way that makes a little more sense to me, and it just, like I said, C# background. No. And I know you're not being picky. I'm the one who needs to learn lists. I totally understand, because that's something, it's a limiting factor for how I write Python code, and it's something I have to improve in. So, you know, that's actually something where I have a lot of growing to do. Maybe I'll just do I don't know, maybe I'll just do a stream on, you know, watch Jason screw up listing, because, you know, but, so let's use difflib just as a test. What I'm going to do is completed passwords equals open, and then master list, options pass file. Okay. So we need to do a check if session completed is not none. So if that file exists, then let's throw out a warning. Session file discovered, resuming from last entry. Okay, and let's actually do, let's do an experiment. Import difflib. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is, let's do pass file equals open, and then that is temp pass read lines. Okay, so we have a pass file there. All right, and then we need our completed, so we'll call this completed equals open temp brute, I spelled it wrong, TMPS. What did I call that? I just called completed passwords, and then open that with read lines. Okay, completed. Okay. All right, so in completed, I have password one, and then let's do diffs equals difflib ndiff pass file, and then completed. Okay, for d and diffs, let's just do print d. Okay. All right, so this is the operation that I came up with that I was actually able to make some sense of. All right, so using difflib with an ndiff, that ndiff function is important. What that does is that if memory serves, that prepends the symbols and shows you whether or not the file is found, or whether or not the entry is found or isn't found, as opposed to other functions where it will only show you if all the ones that are found or all the ones that aren't found. I want all the ones in both of them. And what I need is I need to key off of a symbol of some kind. And this is where it gets kind of hacky, so just bear with me. So I'm keying off of this right here. Okay, this minus dash, because what that means is that minus dash means that the password is found in the password file but not found in the completed file, which means it's something that I have to try. You follow me? So that I'm essentially building out the list of passwords that I have yet to attempt using difflib. I hope this works. I was monkeying around with this earlier. I stopped drinking bourbon because this is like the point where I have to fire on all cylinders. All right, diffs equals difflib and diff. And then we have for user, for password and pass file. Functions pass file, and then that is session completed. Okay. For I in diffs, if that, which is this right here, is in the first two characters of I, we need to add that. We need to add that to a master list of passwords. And in that case, I need the master list to be created whether or not there is if this is our first attempt or our second attempt, we still have to create a master list of passwords. So we're going to come up here, master list equals, and then master list equals pass file. So if we've never run before, call this first run. Okay. If we've never run before, we're just going to take all the passwords in the password file and add them to our master list. That way we can try all of them. But if we have run before, we have to build our master list based off of what we've already completed. Okay, so in this case, we're going to master list append, but we want to strip off from the left-hand side those characters because we only want the entry, right? And then from the right-hand side, we're going to strip off that new line. Okay. And so now we should, and now instead of going after the pass file itself, we're going to go after master list. Okay. Clean up our file because I hate, because I hate dirty file. 9. Nope. I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. And we don't need that anymore. Okay. All right. Let's delete our completed passwords file. Temp group temps completed passwords.txt and run. Okay. Session completed. A reference before assignment on line 93. Let's create session completed and set it to none. Okay, so we did our first attempt, and it should have written out temp group completed. Okay, so it wrote out password 1. Now let's see what happens if we run this again, but not delete it. Python. Hey, did that work? Okay, so it hit the session file, skipped password 1, which we know is valid. WS Sheldo, what's going on? Revision 2. Put in SQL, put info in SQLite. Maybe. I don't know. Like maybe like is that over engineering, or like what else could we do with it? You know what I mean? Because like a run of the mill text file is, I think, will serve the purpose, but like what else could we put? What else? So SQL might be cool, but what else would we do with it? You know what I mean? Like just metrics, or I'm not quite sure what else in that case. MySQL custom. Yeah. UI, yeah, maybe. So this is interesting because now we're talking about difference in mindset when we approach tooling, and this really is tester preference in this case. In my case, so for example, I do woodworking. Okay, it's one of my all-time favorite hobbies. I love spending time in the shop. The very, very best tools that I have are the super high quality tools that do one thing really, really well. Sorry, I'm again like devil mode. I'll turn on my light. Bear with me. God. All right. Okay. So it does one thing really, really well, and that's kind of the philosophy that I go with when it comes with tooling. There are some tools that are so disgustingly well coded and do a gazillion things really well. So for example, Medusa. Medusa has a truckload of modules. It's fantastic. It's amazing. But there's a bit of a price that you have to pay with that, which is that you have to learn all of the various syntax for Medusa, all that kind of stuff. When it comes to like my personal philosophy on tooling, I really, really am attracted to simplicity. I like tools that are simple to use. They're just kind of obvious. The options kind of, -H is always there for help, that kind of stuff. So, but I mean, there's definitely a place for complexity. But here's the thing: would you rather use, a really, really simple compiler, or would you rather use something like GCC? Have you ever looked at the options for GCC? It's insanity. Writing the option parser for GCC would blow my mind. It's got to be thousands and thousands of lines of code to parse all the options for GCC. Same thing for tools like curl, which is just out of this world amazing. Okay, but you could make the argument that curl is doing one thing really, really well, and that is handling HTTP. It's just doing that one thing really, really well. It just happens to be that HTTP is really, really complicated, or can be made complicated. So there's definitely room for various philosophies and stuff like that. But I don't know. That's interesting. I would say my answer to that right now would be probably not SQLite right now. However, if the time comes when the tool demands it or requires it, yeah, of course, you do what you have to do in that case. Oh, did that actually work? Did that cat temp root completed? It completed 1 and it completed 2. So if I run this again, it should find the session file, and it should only run password 3. Oh, that makes me happy. Where's KJO? Give me that trademark, man. Air free code. Just kidding. All right. Are we approaching? Yeah, we're approaching. Is it 8 o'clock already? Air free for the win. Yes. All right. I can't believe that actually worked out that well in an hour's time. Fantastic. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit that using Vim Fugitive, which is one of my favorite Vim plugins of all time. So I found that opening Excel. Actually, all right, so that's an interesting point. So I'm not saving out my attempts, and that kind of defeats the point, right? I mean, we want to save out our various attempts for things that we've done. Otherwise, that's kind of useless. Otherwise, everything is coming back to the screen, and that doesn't help us much. So let's do this. First, let's add the file. So I will talk. There's actually quite a few new people in the channel. So what I'll do is I'll talk over my Vim options for Vim Fugitive. In forgive the dog. In this plugin, Vim Fugitive, there are a couple of really awesome functions. So these are 23 people in chat, heck yeah. So these are the Vim settings that I have for working with Vim Fugitive. So my leader key is a comma. Okay, so when I hit the comma, that's essentially putting me in what's, I think it's Vim's normal mode, and is waiting for more input. Now there is a time for that. So for example, sometimes a comma is just a comma. So if you're in insert mode, then you just type a comma. But if you are not in insert mode and you hit a comma, that is a signal to Vim that, hey, I just did the leader key. So if I hit leader and then GA, that does :G, which is short for :get. Okay, so help get. This is part of Vim Fugitive. Okay, and you can just do :G. And then you can get add. You can do a truckload of functions from all from within Vim. So for example, let's say I want to know what my differences are. I can do GS for get status. No, I haven't made any changes here. I'll switch back over. So :GS. Come on, branch master. There we go. Okay. So hit :GS, and you can see I've modified these files. Don't care about the PYC. I've modified the messages file. That's interesting. I didn't think I modified that. It does have get blame. Pretty cool, huh? So get blame. How about that? I don't know about you guys, but that is just sexy to me. That's just a sexy looking screen. All right. I don't know what you guys look at, but for me, this is just amazing. All right, so back to help get blame, get diff tool. You can also do merge conflicts resolution from within Vim. I have not been able to do this successfully, fair warning, but that is because I'm a novice at Vim Fugitive specifically. But back to my file, get status, get commit, and then get push. So we're going to commit. It's going to prompt us for a message, and then I'm going to push out to my repo. Okay, the repo, if any of you are interested in the repo itself, that is my repo. My dot files and everything that I'm working with, as well as my GitHub stuff, is out on my Twitch page. So you are welcome to go get that. But let's switch back to Autobrute. GA for get add, and then GC for get commit. Change is not staged for commit. Let's add messages. Import sys. Interesting. Okay. We'll add that as well. GC, and then this is added. We'll call this session feature for repeated runs. Get out of insert mode, save it like you would save anything else, and our commit is done. And now we're going to push GP, and the push is up. All from within Vim, never dropping out, never going to the console. Done and done. All right. So, I think at this point, I have a solid commit. I have a working feature. I think next week we will come back and save out our files, and then make sure that we have some verbose stuff. I will add next week. We will add the timing, and the timing is going to be random attempts in between. Like I said, in between 2 hours and maybe 5 hours, or 2 hours and 6 hours, wherever you want. We'll add a little bit more fancy logging, and then actually turn this into something that we can use, right? We can actually use on an engagement. So otherwise, I think that's about it. I'll stick around for about another 5 minutes. If you guys have pen testing, red teaming, industry questions. Good time to chat because I still have bourbon in my glass. And if you don't, well, I'm not going to encourage you to drink, but you should have a beverage of choice. How's that? Man, time goes fast. Fun hanging out with you all. I love the questions too. What absolutely... Okay, man, a couple of great questions. I have green tea. Number one, green tea is amazing. I buy green tea by the pound on Amazon. There's a fantastic brand of green tea that I love, Jade Garden, which is just out of this world. What ruins my day as a red teamer? So we can talk about this for a long time. At a very high level, getting caught, right? But that's a very generic answer. What I would say ruins my day as pale. Thank you. Thanks for the compliment. What ruins my day? What ruins my day is obviously getting caught. However, I can certainly discuss a few pain points of red teaming. And if you're not familiar with the industry term red teaming, I work for an organization, Trusted Sec, that does penetration testing. So a company contracts with us to try and hack into their organization, and then we write up a report on how we did and what we found and things like that. And it's great for the client because then they go out and fix those vulnerabilities and they're more secure. At least that's the goal. But on a red team assessment, which is generally, generally it's multi-month. So on a red team assessment, a few things ruin my day. Number one is when I get antsy and I run a command and it's a command that was risky from an operational security standpoint, and then I get caught. And then the blue team just destroys my work. I have had 2 months worth of work come crashing down. I was full on in an organization, full compromise, achieving the targets. I ran one wrong command, I wish I was joking. I'm not joking. One wrong command, and then I got to watch the blue team systematically dismantle everything that I had been doing for the last 8 weeks. Whether I was outside the environment or inside the environment, they performed a full network eviction of what I had done, to the point where they called me up and said, my point of contact called me and said, Jason, the blue team is thinking about tearing down and rebuilding the entire Citrix environment because they're not sure where you were. And I said, number one, don't do that. That's not the point of the exercise. Number two, I can provide a little bit of guidance. And then he came back to me a little bit later and said, we found you here and here and here. And I was like, yep, that's right. And it was a great exercise for them, and it was a great learning opportunity for me, because I learned that the smallest operational security mistake can undo all of your work. And so that ruins my day. When I make a dumb mistake, that frustrates me, and that angers me, because I think to myself, and here's the thing, red teaming it's emotional. I was not prepared for the emotional involvement of having weeks worth of work just get torn out from under me. It's almost cathartic, where you're just like, it's over. Okay, all right, I can go back to being stress-free. But that's one thing. Scope, yes, scope, absolutely. And you know what? So here's the thing. Let me talk about scope for a second. I used to get worked up about scope. I used to get upset when a client would scope me into a corner. And by that, I mean, they're like, we want you to test these 5 machines. And I'm like, okay, great. How many machines do you have? They're like, well, 10,000. And I'm like, why am I only testing 5? Well, it's an ultra-specific PCI compliance pen test. And I'm like, okay, all right. That used to bother me. It really did. And I learned to emotionally distance myself from it, truly. And it sounds horrible. But it's true. I had to learn to emotionally pull myself back from that and understand that some clients, sometimes they really just do want to check a box. Sometimes they do. And there's nothing I can do about it. And here's the thing. The worst ones are the things where I'm like, hey, yeah, what, guys, why are we doing this? There's better ways to do this. And they're like, I know, I don't have the budget. When I get like a heartbreaking answer like that, I have to emotionally distance myself from it. And so I used to get really worked up over scope, and now I don't. Now scope is one of those things where I take whatever scope they give me, I work as hard as I can within the confines of that scope, and there are some tests when I get to the end and I'm like, hey, I found nothing. Congratulations, you're awesome. And I know in the back of my mind they're not. Okay, they probably got Prince Spooler running all their domain controllers, but the DCs were out of scope and I couldn't touch them. Okay, so like that kind of stuff. So like scope is definitely something that concerns me. But honestly, it's operational security mistakes, and it's when the defense. If I encounter a really amazing defense, it doesn't ruin my day. I'm actually pretty impressed when that happens. But normally when I overlook something, if I can't achieve a target because I overlook something, that frustrates me. That really bothers me. And so really, honestly, it's my personal mistakes and shortcomings. I don't know if that's like a really long way to answer your question, but it was a really good question. Let me actually scroll down. Okay, so just cool. Over under on number of applications received for the pen tester position. A lot of applications. Some better than others. I haven't actually looked at them. I'm the team lead for the targeted operations group, so I'm the team lead for the red team group. And the hiring that's taking place right now is for the force team, which is the pen tester group. And so, but I can tell you a lot of applications have come in. It's pretty incredible. It's just incredible. Some applicants get angry about things like, hey, we want you to be OSCP certified. Some people get upset about that stuff, and we're just like, hey, this is an industry cert that everyone should have. Anyways, I go on about this for a long time. Some applicants are fantastic. So, working on trying to weaponize Print Nightmare in my lab, but I need solid DLL skeletons. Oh man! So you should, and I mentioned this at the start of the Twitch. In my recommendations for Twitch is Flangvik. I think Flangvik. Melvin. He works at Trusted Sec. Melvin does a lot of the fancy C# stuff, and I don't want to steal his thunder. Melvin, if you're watching this, because it's 3 a.m. in Norway, it would not surprise me one bit if he was actually still up like coding stuff. So what you should do is you should tweet at Flangbit. You should. I'm not kidding. Tweet at him and just be like, hey, do a stream about DLL, like writing a DLL for Print Nightmare. I bet you he'd do it. So this is something that I could also do. However, I'm kind of having fun in the Python world. So, but you should tweet at him and ask him for it. Everything. You have Bebo 126, an interview scheduled with TS. Advice. You're nervous. Okay. All right. Number one, I feel you. It took me 5 years to get into Trusted Sec. I'm not kidding. Okay, 5 years. And you're nervous for an interview. Let me think about this for a second. Let me give you a few points on the interview. Number one, be honest with what you know. Be honest with what you don't know. Here's what will get you not hired. If you BS your way through technical questions, don't do it. Okay? When you don't know, just say, I don't know, but here's how I would find the answer. Because everyone who jumps into this world of red teaming or pen testing bumps into that every day of things that they don't know. All right? So do not try and flub your way through questions that you don't know the answer to. Just give an honest answer and be yourself, but the nervousness is going to come through. Don't worry about that. Okay. But yeah, be as honest as you can be with the answers, because at this point, the interview is scheduled. You've already impressed some people. If you got an interview and a stack of resumes, you already impressed some people. So take some confidence in that, seriously, right? Your resume got looked at when it could have gotten skipped over. And we called you when we didn't have to, which means you've already done a good job impressing some of the right people, okay? So the best recommendation that I can get to you is once you get into that interview, be yourself. I wrote a blog post about this. The acronym that I use is AFT or FAT. After FAT, you can go with either one. Faithful. And here's what I would look for if I was hiring you. Faithful. I want you to be faithful to the job and faithful to the company and the culture. Okay. In other words, you're all in. All right. I know I can count on you. I don't have to be, looking over your shoulder. I don't have to worry if you're a self-starter. It's a remote position, right? So I don't have to worry, is Bebo 126 going to be doing the job, or is he going to be cruising YouTube all day? You need to be available, right? Sometimes it means after hours work. Sometimes it means, it generally doesn't mean weekends work, but sometimes it does. Sometimes it means travel. Travel is slowly spinning back up. It wouldn't surprise me if it did, but sometimes it means that. Okay. And so are you available? Like, can you commit the time necessary? And when I say time, I don't mean like 100 hours a week. I'm not talking about that, right? For me, it's generally 40 to 50 hours a week, like most other jobs. But the last thing, and the one that I really look for, me personally, is the T, which is teachable. How much ego are you approaching this with? Do you think that you were all that because of your community contributions and your talks and your stuff like that? And maybe those things are awesome, but are you strolling into that interview thinking that you deserve the job? Because if you do, that is strike one right out of the gate. Okay. Trusted Sec does a really, really good job about keeping the culture just relaxed and laid back. I can tell you on my team, there's nobody on my team that's just strutting around with this, big, huge ego. In fact, people on my team I'm probably the biggest ego on the team. All right. And I don't feel like my ego is necessarily that huge. Like the other guys on the team, they're super helpful. They come out with stuff that they know. They're there day or night when you need them. They're there to be your friend. They're there to, talk to you. They're there to, help you through an engagement. That's one of the things that I'm looking for, quite honestly. So be honest when you don't know. Leave your ego at home. Okay. And in fact, if you don't leave, and here's the thing, if you're an egotistical maniac, we'll know. So, you won't be able to hide it. All right. Hopefully you're not that person. So the fact that you're nervous is a good sign. If you were just like, I got an interview with TS and I plan on starting in a couple weeks, I'd be like, all right, good luck with that. But the fact that you're nervous is actually a really good thing. It shows that you're taking this seriously, that you have a healthy amount of respect. So, good for you. Congratulations. I hope it works out. How big is the red team? Red team is, I think we got, I don't know what we got. 7 plus me, I think. Average length of engagement probably about 6 to 8 weeks, I guess. So 123 Jandro coming to the rescue. Thanks, buddy. I think it's probably worse than it actually. I don't know. There are times when I'm like, well, I'm humble and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my humility. It just kicks me every time. So Melvin is on a 4-week summer break. That is right. That's right. Why? Because it's Norway, and in Norway they get the entire month of July off. I don't know. Explain that one to me. That sounds fantastic. All I do is I get pictures from Oddvar about like fish that he's caught. He's out on a boat, middle of the day, like just catching huge lake trout. And I'm just like, son of a gun, man. Like, why am I still here? All right, but anyways, yes, that's right. He's on a 4-week summer break. Maybe he'll stream. Maybe he won't be able to stay away from it. I don't know. I could be wrong there, but anyways, birthday is in July, so that would be awesome, right? Wouldn't that be fantastic if you're just like, you know what? Why don't you just take 4 weeks off? And then why don't you take 2 weeks off for Christmas? Oh yeah, and 2 weeks off for this, that, and the other Norwegian holiday. They get like months off a year. It's fantastic for them. So all of us are jealous, and it's cool. But anyways, so hopefully that answers your questions. Stuck around a little bit longer. Still have some bourbon left. Y'all are on me with good questions tonight. Good job. Hopefully the Python was fun. But I can talk red teaming and pen testing for a long time because it's just so much fun. But you know what? Defense is also a ton of fun. Coolest attack path. Coolest attack path. Shoot. Oh yeah, favorite whiskey. Wow. You stumped me. I would say probably one of the neatest attacks I've seen recently, though I haven't done it, is the stuff that Spectre Ops released about certificates. Their research is top notch. It just is. And I don't say that like a competitor. I know a lot of those guys, and they're all just fantastic. So their research is just top notch. So yeah, ADCS I would have to go with. It's probably some of the neatest things I've seen. If you did not see, I'll show you guys this real quick. Let me pull this up. Oh shoot, did I close a tab? I wish I closed a tab. I'll have to go back to my Twitter for this. Bad sector. If you guys haven't seen this, I'll pull up the browser real quick. We're still not seeing the browser. It's black screen, isn't it? Hang on. Firefox. Okay, cool. This is actually a really good blog for keeping track of stuff. I don't know about you guys, but Twitter sometimes, not sometimes, Twitter is just, anyways. I don't have many good things to say about Twitter except for the awesome people that I get to meet, right? It does not matter how many words I mute. I just can't get over the trash on Twitter. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's that's great, and it's cool. But the thing is, there are two things. Number one, muting out the stuff that I want. Bikini pics. Oh my gosh, I actually just saw that InfoSec bikini. I just saw that today, and I was like, all right, close that tab. What am I doing? But it's one of those things where it's like people drop awesome stuff on Twitter, and you can meet and keep up with great people on Twitter. I've met some fantastic people on Twitter that I'm friends with, to this day, that we've met up, in real life and chatted and had great times. It's just that it has its place. It's just that I think that it's an overall negative. However, if you're looking to get off of Twitter, Bad Sector Labs blog, somebody dropped this to me. It was Kuba. That's right. Kuba Gretzky dropped this in a Slack room that I'm in with him. And it's just a really neat, really good summary blog of like the latest and greatest in InfoSec. New techniques, new CVEs, all the certificate stuff was all covered, and it's updated pretty frequently. And so, honestly, that kind of stuff is really useful. So check that out. That is, yeah, there you go. Blog, Bad Central Lives there. Bookmark that one. That one is worth reading on the regular. Bourbon. So favorite brand of bourbon is Michter's whiskey. Favorite whiskey of all time. Hold on. If you can find this whiskey. It's a black screen again. Holy cow. OBS, what are you doing? Okay. Favorite whiskey of all time. Michter's. Am I spelling this right? U.S. American whiskey. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's just glorious. I'm gonna give you all a second just to take in, just to behold the magnificence of the most beautiful of beverage containing vessels that is Michter's unblended American whiskey. Absolutely amazing. However, I can't find it. You can find it online. You're going to pay like $50-$60 for it, but I can't find it in my local place now because it got hot. Like, it got really hot. People just love it. So, okay. So that was whiskey, and best thing from the blue team. Coolest thing I've seen from a blue team. What is the coolest thing I've seen from a blue team? I'm going to go with the blue team getting much better about external detections. I've seen some neat honeypots recently, but I still don't see many of them. There are definitely a few. Blue teams are getting more into the honeyspot and like deceptive space. Deceptive technology is really powerful. Really powerful. Like if I get inside a network and I can't tell what's what, like if you want to screw with a tester, like this is 100% true. If you want to screw with a pen tester, find a way to falsify Nmap results. Like things from an Nmap script, if you figure out a way to like throw back false results that redirect the tester to a honeypot, number one, write a wrapper for it and sell it. You'll make a truckload of money. So like that kind of stuff would just foobar me. Like I'd have nothing, right? If I can't trust the output of my tools, I got nothing, right? So deceptive technology is some of the neatest stuff that I've seen come out recently, where it's like deceptive SMB shares, deceptive Kerberos, accounts, service principal names, like deceptive computer entries, like that kind of stuff. If you can do that, that's pretty cool, and do it in a way that's not obvious. For goodness sake, like if you run Responder, and let's say that Rapid7's agent is sitting on the network, well, it responds back with random computer names. Well, I know this. Like nobody, no client ever in the history of clients gives a totally randomized letter number combination for computers. I've never seen it, ever. And I've been in a lot of networks. And so there's always some kind of pattern, even if it's like they all begin with the same letter, right? There's always a pattern of some kind. And so when you throw back just like random trash across the wire, like you're trying to pretend that this is a legitimate response, I know it's fake. Okay, so if you're going to go through the trouble of building out deceptive technology, the point is to deceive, right? If I look at your Honey account and it says, J Smith, and the rest of them are named SVC _ and then purpose, I know it's a Honey account, right? The point is to try and deceive me. So, ever come across Honey creds, Honey tokens? Yes. I wouldn't say it's often, because like I said, Rapid7's agent is they throw honey tokens and Honey creds out on the wire. I generally don't see Honey tokens like embedded in memory. There is a product that does that, and I can't remember for the life of me what. There's probably multiple products at this point that do that. I can't keep up with all the defense, but probably a lot of products that do that will inject tokens into memory. I know Ben wrote one. Ben 10 wrote. I think he called it Invoke Honey creds, and uses PowerShell script that just runs and like puts creds into memory. And if those creds get used anywhere on the wire, you should have like a Splunk alert or a QRadar alert for it, and then you catch the attacker. So, what's your opinion on Think ST Canary? Never heard of him, so I don't really have an opinion. So, yeah, sorry about that. All right, guys, I've gotten to the bottom of my questions. CanaryTokens.com. I will check it out. Thank you. But I've gotten to the bottom of the questions. My code is committed up, and I'm near the end of my bourbon. So I'm going to sign off. I will be back on next week, 7 p.m. Central Time, for another round of Python drinks and talking coding. Who was that guy? Bebo126. Best of luck to you, man, or lady. I'm not sure. Hope it works out for you. And if you get hired and I see the email, drop me a note and tell me that it was you, so I can rejoice with you. But otherwise, you all have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Later, guys.